Welcome to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast, brought to you by the Center for Divorce Education. With renowned psychologist Dr. Donald Gordon, we will delve into the complex world of co-parenting during and after divorce and separation. Join us as we explore some of the emotional, legal, and practical aspects of parental breakups, helping you navigate this transformative journey with wisdom and guidance. Whether you're currently going through a divorce, contemplating separation, or supporting a loved one in their journey, the Center for Divorce Education is here to empower you with knowledge and offer you a roadmap towards a brighter future. The information presented in this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute mental health therapy or to diagnose mental health disorders. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute legal advice. Participants are encouraged to discuss specific legal questions with a licensed attorney of their choice.
Welcome back to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast. I'm Mike, and I'm here with my colleague Jaimie, and today we're talking about a topic that affects many divorced and separated families, often without parents realizing it. This episode is based on information from the What About the Children workbook, which is a free download when you sign up for the Children in Between online program, and it is from specifically the chapter called Avoid Loyalty Conflicts. We'll discuss how children are affected when they feel caught between their parents and why even subtle comments about the other parent can create emotional stress. When people hear the phrase loyalty conflict, they often picture a parent openly criticizing the other parent or asking a child to choose sides. While that certainly happens, most loyalty conflicts are much more subtle than that. They often show up in everyday conversations, facial expressions, jokes, complaints, or questions that seem harmless on the surface. The challenge is that children are constantly paying attention. They are listening not only to what parents say, but also how they say it. They notice the tension, frustration, and the emotional reactions that adults sometimes believe are hidden. Today, we're going to talk about how loyalty conflicts develop, how children experience them, and what parents can do to avoid placing children in the middle of adult issues.
And one of the reasons this topic is so important is that most parents don't intentionally create loyalty conflicts. Parents are often dealing with their own hurt feelings, disappointment, anger, or ongoing disagreements with their former partner. Sometimes they simply want someone to listen. Sometimes they want validation that their frustrations are justified. The problem is that children are not appropriate audiences for those conversations. Children don't have the emotional tools to process adult relationship problems. What they often hear is not simply criticism of a parent. Instead, they hear criticism of someone they love. In many cases, they hear criticisms about themselves. The workbook points out that loyalty conflicts can create emotional distress, anxiety, resentment, and confusion for children. They can feel trapped between two people they care about deeply. They may begin hiding information, keeping secrets, or even worrying about how one parent will react if they positively talk about the other parent. And no child should have to manage a parent's emotions or feel responsible for maintaining peace between adults. Yet many children find themselves in exactly that position.
A loyalty conflict occurs whenever a child feels pressure to take sides between parents. Sometimes that pressure is direct. A parent might ask, "Who do you like living with better?" Or, "Do you think your mom was wrong?" Or a parent might ask a child to carry messages or gather information. Most parents recognize those situations as problematic. The more difficult situations to recognize are the indirect ones. A parent rolls their eyes when the other parent is mentioned, a sarcastic comment is made about child support, or a parent becomes visibly upset when a child talks about having fun at the other parent's house. These moments may seem small to adults, but they send powerful messages to children. Children begin wondering whether it's safe to talk about one parent around the other. They start editing their stories and hiding positive experiences. Instead of simply being children, they become emotional managers, trying to prevent conflict and protect people's feelings. That is a tremendous burden for a child.
Right. And children generally want permission to love both parents. And that sounds simple, but for many children in separated families, it doesn't feel simple at all. Imagine a child who had a wonderful weekend with dad, and they come home excited and want to share a funny story. But if mom responds with irritation, silence, or a negative comment, that child quickly learns something. They learn that talking about dad may upset mom. So the next time, they might decide not to share. Eventually, children can begin suppressing parts of their lives depending on which parent they're with. They aren't being dishonest, they're just trying to avoid creating tension. And children should never feel like they have to choose between their parents. Unfortunately, loyalty conflicts often make children feel exactly that way.
One of the most common ways parents unintentionally create loyalty conflicts is through repeated criticism of the other parent. Sometimes that criticism is direct, like your dad never follows through, or your mom only cares about herself. Comments about money, parenting decisions, scheduling problems, or comments about new relationships are subtle ways that this can happen. Parents may feel they're simply stating the facts, but children rarely experience those comments as neutral observations. Instead, they hear negative messages about someone they love, and over time, those messages accumulate. Even small comments repeated frequently can have a significant impact on how safe children feel discussing their relationships with both parents.
And another common problem is using children as messengers. Many parents have heard this advice before, but it's worth repeating because it does happen so often. Children should not be responsible for carrying information between adults. Like, hey, tell your mom I need the insurance card. Tell your dad he's late again. Tell your mom I disagree with that decision. The moment children become the communication system between parents, they're placed in the middle of adult issues. If the message creates conflict, children often feel responsible for the outcome. Even when the topic seems minor, the pattern teaches children that managing communication is somehow their job when it isn't. Parents need to communicate directly with each other whenever possible.
One thing that surprises many parents is how deeply children internalize criticism of the other parent. Adults often separate behavior from identity. Children frequently do not. Children see themselves as connected to both parents. When one parent is attacked, children may feel that part of themselves is being attacked as well. This is especially true for younger children. If a child repeatedly hears that dad is irresponsible or mom is selfish, those messages can affect how the child sees themselves. Children may wonder whether they have those same flaws. They may feel embarrassed, ashamed, or conflicted about loving someone who is being criticized. This emotional conflict can persist long after the conversation is over.
And children also tend to feel responsible for problems that have nothing to do with them. That's simply how children think. If mom seems upset after hearing about dad, children may feel responsible. If dad gets angry when mom is mentioned, children may feel responsible. They start monitoring what they say, how much they share, and even which emotions they express. Instead of focusing on school, friendships, sports, or normal childhood experiences, they're spending energy trying to keep adults calm. And that's a role children were never meant to fill.
One of the most valuable exercises from the workbook encourages parents to give children permission to speak up when they feel caught in the middle. That sounds simple, but it can be incredibly powerful. Many children assume they have to tolerate these uncomfortable situations because they don't want to upset their parent. Parents can change that dynamic by creating an environment where children feel safe expressing themselves. A parent might say, "If you ever feel like I'm putting you in the middle, I want you to tell me." Or, "If something I say about your other parent makes you uncomfortable, you can let me know." Those conversations communicate respect and emotional safety.
It's also important for parents to respond positively when children do speak up. Imagine your child says, "I don't like it when you talk badly about dad." That can be difficult to hear, and the natural reaction might be defensiveness. But those moments are opportunities. Instead of arguing, parents can thank the child for being honest. They can listen, and they can reflect on what the child is experiencing. Children are often providing valuable information about how family dynamics are affecting them.
There are times when saying less is actually the healthiest choice. Not every frustration needs to be shared with a child. Not every disagreement needs an audience. Not every negative thought needs to be spoken out loud. Parents can talk to friends, a therapist, support groups, their attorney, or other trusted adults. Children should not become the primary outlet for adult frustrations. Before making a comment about the other parent, it can be helpful to ask yourself a simple question. How will this help my child? If the answer is unclear, it may be better left unsaid.
Exactly. And choosing not to criticize the other parent isn't about pretending that problems don't exist. It's about protecting children from burdens they shouldn't have to carry. Children benefit when parents create space for them to maintain loving relationships with both sides of their family. And that doesn't require perfection. It simply requires awareness, self control, and commitment to putting the child's needs first.
Children should never feel responsible for choosing between parents, carrying adult concerns, or managing family tension. Parents avoid criticism, communicate directly with each other, and give children permission to love both parents freely. Children experience greater emotional security and less stress.
And sometimes one of the most supportive things a parent can do is simply pause before speaking and ask whether what they're about to say will help their child or place them in the middle of conflict. That small moment of awareness can make a tremendous difference.
Thanks for joining us for this episode. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss one. We've got more conversations coming up, all focused on helping parents reduce conflict, strengthen their communication, and support their children's well-being after divorce or separation. We'll see you next time.